Hello, this is Vaibhav Vaidya with the Fits on the Go video blog here at ACC 16 in Chicago. We have the pleasure today of interviewing Professor Kuck, who is with Asklepios Institute in Germany and presented the late-breaking clinical trial Fire and Ice. Thank you for being with us here today.
It's my real pleasure to join you.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the aims and the background of the Fire and Ice trial?
The Fire and Ice trial is the largest catheter ablation trial in atrial fibrillation today, and it was comparing two strategies and technologies to see whether the technology of cryo balloon application, which means to apply freezing to the tissue with a single shot device, is as good as the application of heat using radiofrequency current via a focal point-by-point ablation approach. This approach is considered to be the golden standard of catheter ablation of atrial fibrillation, with the aim to isolate the pulmonary veins. However, it's a rather complex procedure with a long learning curve, so we just wanted to know whether a simple approach versus a complex approach would end with the same results.
Wonderful. And could you share with us what were the results of the trial?
The hypothesis of the trial was to have freedom from events, and events were recurrences of atrial tachyarrhythmias, prescription of drugs, or reablation, whether the event rate would be at 70% after 1 year and would not be different in the cryoablation group with a non-inferiority margin of 10%. And actually what we found was that our assumption with a 70% free of event rate was almost perfectly hit. We showed that the success rate was 65%, which is very close to the 70% assumption that we had for both arms. So there was no difference in the activity that we were measuring, and also very interesting, there was also no difference for safety.
Very interesting results. So no difference really between cryoablation and radiofrequency ablation for atrial fibrillation. How do you think these results will change or affect our management of these patients?
You know, until now, only 4% of all atrial fibrillation patients undergo catheter ablation, which is a very small number. And this despite the fact that many studies have shown that catheter ablation is superior to antiarrhythmic drugs. So I would really love to see, and this was one of the stimuli of the trial, that more patients will get access to catheter ablation, and hopefully also at an earlier stage. Because we know that to treat patients with chronic atrial fibrillation is much more challenging with catheter ablation than to treat patients at the early stage when they still have paroxysmal atrial fibrillation. So I'm sure that with this trial we will show that more patients can be treated by hopefully also less experienced and to less trained electrophysiologists.
Got it. And it's my understanding that cryoablation overall takes a shorter procedure time. And do you think this will be the modality of choice in community hospitals, especially once they start ablating atrial fibrillation more?
I personally believe that in 5 years from now, PVI, isolation of the pulmonary veins, will not be done by point-to-point ablation anymore. I think it will only be done by single-shot devices for the reasons that we mentioned. And you're absolutely right. In the trial, the procedure duration was 20 minutes less in the cryoballoon arm as compared to the radiofrequency arm, and this despite the fact that these were highly experienced doctors.
And one final question for you, sir. Could you also comment a little bit on fluoroscopy use between the two arms?
The fluoroscopy duration was only 5 minutes more in the cryoballoon arm as compared to the radiofrequency. This is a bit surprising because, as you know, the cryoballoon system is completely guided by fluoroscopy, whereas the radiofrequency system is guided by electroanatomical mapping. So the difference was only 5 minutes, and still the overall application time of fluoro was low in the trial, 15 minutes for the radiofrequency arm and 20 minutes for the cryoballoon arm. So it indicates again that these were highly experienced investigators, because as you know, there are trials out there where people are still using 40 minutes of fluoro time to do a radio frequency ablation based on electroanaconda mapping. So I'm very pleased with the operators that participated in the trial.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For more videos like this, please log on to youtube.com/fitsonthego.